this is a hell of a question. So Bud Elliott, our friend from 247 Sports, one of the co-hosts of the Cover 3 podcast, which obviously it's the competition, but they do a really good job. You have more minutes in the day. We understand you listen to other shows. Bud asked a great question here the other day. Here's a fun hypothetical. If you had $40 million to construct a roster out of this year's transfer portal, does that team win the national title? And then Bud adds a qualifier. Just from this year's portal, so guys who didn't go into the portal don't count.
So the obvious thing that the obvious thing that you just have to ask in this hypothetical is, what's the starting point? Like if Penn State had $40 million, then yes. But if
I think Bud qualified it more with a successive tweet where he's like, does it matter if I up the number to 50 million, 60 million, 70 million? So I think the point of this exercise is if you had basically unlimited funds, using the players who chose to go into the transfer portal this offseason, would you be able to create a national championship team? My answer, I think, is no.
Oh, just using the players, not adding them.
Yeah, you can't tamper with anybody else. Like, just the ones who decided to go in.
But you have to get 85 players from just this year's portal. You're not adding it to a roster. You're starting from scratch. You've got 0 players, and all you have is the portal.
Yeah, so your starting QB is either John Mateer or Carson Beck. Like,
your starting QB is John Mateer. Your wide receiver 1 is Eric Singleton Jr. Your top running back
is it him or
Hughes.
So your 3 top receivers are Eric Singleton Jr., Noah Thomas, and Kevin Concepcion, right?
Yeah, which is a national championship receiver group. I mean, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you went on this exercise, but let's keep going.
Zach Branch is your number 4 receiver, probably.
Zach Branch is a number 4 receiver, and I think the answer is yes. I don't know about the trenches.
That's the problem, though. This is the issue. Like, okay, so Isaiah World, who's going to start at left tackle at Oregon, came from Nevada, so he's the type of player you're looking for. The question is, how many? Because you can get Pat Coogan, who started at center in the national championship game last year. You can get Rocco Spindler, who started at right guard in the national championship game.
Yeah,
so
and you got I mean, I'm looking at the On3 top transfer portal players, and you have multiple offensive linemen in the top 15 total transfers. Xavier.
Do you have 5? I don't think you have 5.
I mean, you have a lot of tackles, but like that's the thing with how they're ranked too. It's like
you can move somebody to guard
and 2 tackles, and you can move the tackles to guard. I think you could do it. Yeah, I think the answer is yes. And the reason why,
okay, let me ask you this: would this be a team that could compete for a national title, or a prohibitively favored, so much more talented than everybody else team?
Yeah, it's like play the game of like, if you put everybody on this transfer portal together, is it more talented than last year's Ohio State team?
It's not. I can tell you right now, it's not.
Yeah.
There's nobody as good as Caleb Downs. There's nobody as good as Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
There may not be a D lineman as good as Tylee Kill.
Yeah, you're probably right. But also too, like if your backup is Darian Mensah, like you have like,
or Carson Beck,
Carson Beck, and like you have those 3 quarterbacks on your roster. I don't know. You have a really, really good safeties with Takario Davis and Dylan Thieneman. Like, I mean, you would put together a really good team, Andy. There'd be no weaknesses.
You could put together, yeah. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong, because my initial answer is no. You're not going to win the national title. I think you can compete for it. I don't think you can, I don't think you'd roll out and just be able to stomp Ohio State or Texas or Georgia. Like, you could get beat by those teams.
I think the question is, if you phrase it this way, could you assemble a team with no weaknesses? You might not have the top end talent. You might not have a Jeremiah Smith or a Caleb Downs, but could you assemble 22 players on both sides of the ball that doesn't give you a lot of room to attack? If you're
this is also a team that has to play a whole season, so could you make a team deep enough to get through?
The depth would be great, especially at critical positions. There's 10 offensive tackles in the top 50. Now, I don't know, like the thing that's difficult is like guard, I don't know, interior defensive lineman, maybe that might be difficult. I don't know, man. I think that you're talking about a lot of players here.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's true. The offensive line thing I was worried about. I'm less worried about the offensive line than I am the defensive line. Cause I think about like Ethan Onyanwa from Rice was a guy that last year people were like, how come this dude didn't go into the portal? And he did go into the portal this year, and now he's at Ohio State. So
yeah, and like is going to be one of the best offensive linemen in the Big Ten, like already.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming is being compensated as such. So, like, and Justice Haynes is a running back who's like ranked 30th, and it's like he's a pretty good running back. Like if you added him to a team that had that offensive line, they'd be fine. I'm just trying to think like Will Helt, the edge rusher that's at Clemson now.
Right.
That's a guy who is lower on that list. That guy might be one of the best edge rushers in the ACC at Clemson this year. Like I don't know. I think that you would be more than willing to, or more than able to put together a team that is good enough to win the national title. Now, does it mean that they would beat the crap out of everybody?
The offense for sure. I really like the offense. I'm not as sure about the defense, but the more I look at this, the more I like the offense.
Yeah, but go look at the corners. Like there's 10 corners in the top 30 right here. And Dane Key and Kevin Coleman at receiver. We didn't even talk about them. Malachi Fields.
I don't know if they're making the two deep.
I know, but if they're not, then that illustrates why.
As I said, yeah, I think we can put together a nice receiving core. I think I'm looking at. We can definitely put together a good offensive line because the other guard I forgot about Emmanuel Pregnon, who left USC and went to Oregon. So that's another one you can now.
And then River pointed out here too,
Williams Nweri, but we don't know if he's going to be good yet. He didn't really do much in Missouri last year.
I know. I would take him.
Well, and Nebraska is very happy to have him right now.
Yeah, I would. I think I'll go on a limb and just say, yeah, that freak of nature is going to be good.
This show is brought to you by Panini America, makers of the most collectible sports cards on the planet. They've got the Prism football card series featuring a vibrantly parallel base set and an insert roster featuring college football's brightest former and current superstars. I already have a pack of Prism draft picks right here. We ripped one on the show the other day. I got this JJ McCarthy Brilliance number 299. It's number 62 of 99. Also, this is one of my favorite pulls since we started doing this. Tavondre Sweat. This is number 49 autograph in his Texas uniform. I do love the lineman.
I love that you got him top loaded too, bud. Welcome to the game.
So visit PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection today. I'm feeling pretty good about mine right now. Yeah. Who's your RB1, Mekhi Hughes or Justice Haynes?
Yes, Mekhi Hughes.
Okay. All right, I love the offense. I've turned around on this. I was when I saw the question initially, I said, nope, not going to happen because I'm not going to be able to put together the trench play. But you can put together a good enough offensive line, and it's interesting because a lot of this. So this offensive line movement is not as much power conference to power conference. It's more guys who went to the group of five because they were under recruited. Maybe they grew, maybe they changed physically as they got older and now have emerged as dominant offensive linemen.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe I changed your mind on something.
You did. I'm still not entirely certain about the defense. I don't know how deep we can be on the D line, which I worry about. But in this era of college football, like I think partially my brain is stuck in you have to have 2021 or 2022 Georgia's defensive line, but nobody's ever going to have that again.
Yeah, and also too, you have to take into consideration when you're thinking about like winning a national title, the teams that are already assembled around them. Like, you're not even talking about having to beat 2020 Bama this year. No, they're not going to have to.
No, it's not like it's. Could this team beat Notre Dame? Could it beat Alabama? Could it beat Georgia? Could it beat Ohio State? Could it beat Oregon? Could it beat Penn State?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've changed my mind. You've turned this around on me because I do think you could do it.
There just aren't a lot of college teams that don't have a weakness.
Right. Now, I don't know that you could do this in real life because the second you started throwing that kind of money at people, somebody else would jump in if they really needed somebody at that position and throw more money at them or drive the price up on you.
The thing that is interesting, an even more interesting question, because I think that like Bud, that was a good question by Bud, and I think it was an illustration of like the portal wasn't that deep this year in comparison to what, right? Like, isn't that the point he's making? That it isn't as star-struck and star-studded and foundation cracking and insanely deep. But if you are Penn State or Wisconsin or a team that is a 9-win team, Penn State and Wisconsin shouldn't be in the same sentence, but you get what I'm saying. A team that is on the verge of something that hasn't gotten there yet, and then has unlimited funds to fill through the portal. I think that there's more than enough in the portal to take a average team and turn them into an elite one if they actually like went for it. Now, I don't think that there's any way that a team can just go dominate and pick off whoever they want. But like, could you imagine if Wisconsin got John Mateer, Mekhi Hughes, and Eric Singleton, like how much different their team would be next year? Like, I mean, like everybody's only 3 or 4 players away from potentially winning it all, in my opinion now. And maybe that's,
which I think is fun, right?
I mean, like maybe it's an oversimplification. Maybe Wisconsin, how many, let's get Big Cat on here, see what he thinks, but how many like elite level players would Wisconsin need to be a legitimate national champion next year? Championship contender, I should say.
It's a great question. Now, River asked us a good question in our group chat. Did Ole Miss go from good to elite in 2024 through the portal? They didn't make the playoff. They didn't meet the goal. Did they have a roster that was capable but did make the playoff of beating anybody in the playoff? They did.
You had Lane Kiffin way higher on your list of coaches this year than I did. And the reason why is I can't get the stink out of my mouth of what happened with that team this year.
It is bad. That team should have made the playoff, and if you put it in the playoff, they would have been able to make noise.
The fact that they didn't, the players that they had in the conference they played in this year, they should have been in the playoff. I think it was a bad coaching job this year.
Right, because you would argue they should have won all 3 games they lost. The one game that you thought maybe they could have lost, they won 28-10.
They were better than everybody they lost to. Let's put it that way. That's not supposed to happen 3 times. Yeah. Not supposed to happen 3 times.
So you can do this. I don't think we'll see it because I just don't think. Here's the other thing. If you have that kind of money, you're also going to have some pretty kick-ass high school recruiting. So you wouldn't need to do that.
Yeah. I feel like if I were like a billionaire, like somebody's like showed a clip of Jeff Bezos on Instagram the other day. I was watching it and he goes, yeah, one time I was just in my living room and I thought, what if we could recover the jet engines from one of the Apollo crashes out of the ocean? Could we do that? So I Googled the coordinates of where the wreckage happened, and I found it on Google, and we were able, it was really difficult, but we were able to recover the engine. It's like, could you imagine having so much money that's like, you're like how you want to use your money?
That's your hobby. Yeah.
Like, well, I wish my hobby was to be like, you know what? I didn't go here. I didn't go there. I'm just going to pick a team and I'm going to take all my money and I'm going to be the reason they win the national title. It's like real life dynasty mode. It's like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take, what's a random team?
Minnesota.
I'm going to go take Minnesota. I mean, I don't know if Minnesota's good enough yet. Like a team that's a little bit better than Minnesota that needs that is like on the.
Well, how about you get Penn State over the top? Like if you're the guy who gets Penn State over the top, you're a legend. Or you get Nebraska, back to winning national titles. You're a legend.
Yeah, or what about like I'm going to take Iowa to the national championship game. I'm going to go and I'm going to bring my checkbook in there and I'm going to take the portal players. And I'm going to get the players that they need to run a successful offense. I'm going to get John Mateer. I'm going to get Mekhi Hughes. I'm going to get Eric Singleton. And I'm going to drop them in Iowa City. That would be fun. Like, I don't think that any team is overly is so far out of the picture that you couldn't envision a world where they got back into it, which is what makes this interesting.
Everybody just needs the right sugar daddy, is what you're saying.
Yes, you just need to look good. No, look good, feel good. I don't know. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it. Maybe if you got those 3 players for Iowa, they would win 10 games and not do it. I don't know.
Well, we just got through saying Ole Miss did it, and they went 9-3.
Yeah, and Ole Miss already had Jackson Dart. Like, it's not like they went out.
They got him through the portal, but yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't go do it all in one cycle is what I'm saying.
Well, nobody's going to do that. That's not realistic, but it's,
But the question is, can somebody do that? That's the question. It's not just can you take the entire portal and make a national championship, but can somebody go from to great with one expensive portal cycle?
It's a great question.
It is a great question. That was fun. Thanks, bud.